Hello, vintage outboard motor fans. This is T Mike here in South Louisiana. That's right, making another video today. Today's video is how to do a fuel pump conversion from the dual line system to the single line system. All right, so this video is going to have 4 parts to it. All right, first part is going to be a little history on how the dual line fuel system works. The second part is going to be how the newer single line fuel system works on a vintage outboard. And then I'm going to give you 2 ways to do the actual conversion. Part 3 of the video is going to be how to do the conversion using a carburetor manifold modification. All right. And then the 4th part of this video is going to be how to do the conversion using a exhaust bypass cover modification. I'm going to give you all the parts and tools required to do these conversions and tell you where to get them online and how much they cost. So if everybody's ready, here we go. Alright, so here we go with part 1 of the video, and it's going to be the history of the dual line fuel system. The dual line fuel system in the vintage outboard motors is a pressurized system that delivers fuel to the carburetor by sending air pressure down one hose into the tank and pressurizing the tank and forcing fuel back up through the other line into the carburetor. So that air pressure sent down the fuel tank comes out of this barb on the carburetor manifold. Carburetor sits right here. Behind it is the carburetor manifold. Both pistons are moving back and forth, and underneath this manifold are 2 valves that work back and forth and sending pulses of air, and when that 2 pulses together provides a steady stream of air going down this barb out into the tank. The other line comes back up into the carburetor right here. All right, so that's how the dual line fuel system works. All right, part 2 now is how the single line fuel system works. So the single line fuel system uses a fuel pump. All right, this is a Kohler fuel pump, and the way the fuel pump works is pulses of air are applied into this inlet, and there's a diaphragm sitting on the other side of that, and that pulses of air, all right, makes that diaphragm flap, and then you have an in and an out of fuel from the tank out to the carburetor, and those pulses of air operating that diaphragm creates a vacuum down the single line into the tank and siphons the gas up into it, into the fuel pump, and out the other side, out to the carburetor. All right, so those are the differences between the dual line and the single line. Now I'm going to give you 2 ways to upgrade the dual line system to the new line. Here we go with way number 1. All right, so here's the older model vintage outboard. This happens to be a 1959 5.5 horsepower Evinrude powerhead. I've taken the carburetor off, and as I said earlier, the dual line system pushes air down this barb into the tank back up to the carburetor. We're going to convert that to the fuel line system single line, and here's how we're going to do it. We're going to remove the carburetor manifold with my handy dandy gyroscopic DeWalt. Alright, so I've got all the screws removed from the carburetor manifold. I'm going to take the manifold off. Behind it is the reed plate. All right. So here, right here, is where the two cylinders, they're pumping air back and forth, right? And they're pushing these valves open back and forth, providing a steady stream of air out through this barb. And we need to convert that to pulses of air. Okay? And the way we're going to do that is by removing this set of valves. And there you go. The valves are removed, all right? So there's your two pulses of air coming out of both of these. We need to block one, either one. So we're going to take a 5/8 inch vacuum tube cap, okay? This is a, you can get them, a 5/8 inch vacuum cap. You can get 10 of them for $5.91 on eBay. We're going to take this cap, we're going to trim about 1/8 of an inch off of it. Okay, and we're going to shove it up through the back of either one of those holes. All right, I got it shoved in about halfway. Okay, and we're going to put it all back together. What this does, it stops the flow of air on one side and allows the other side to come through, which creates a pulse of air, pulses, right? Alright, so now we've converted. We did the carburetor manifold conversion, which creates a pulse of air coming out of the bulb. And now we're going to take a standard 2-cycle fuel pump. Okay, this is a Kohler 24-393-04-S fuel pump. You can find them on eBay for $10. And what we're going to do, we're going to just mount it with a tie wrap, basically right here on the side of the power head. Okay, and then we're going to run all our lines to it. And the way you run the lines are like this. All right, so the pulse goes into this barb, which is where the diaphragm is, and then the fuel from the tank goes into this one and out to the carburetor on this one. All right, so set this right here. We run a 1/4-inch holes from here to the barb on the manifold for the pulse. All right, then we run a line from the fuel here. I usually run them around the back to the connector coming in from the tank, and then we run a line from this out to the carburetor. And that is how you upgrade using the carburetor manifold modification. So now, in part 4 of our video, I'm going to show you how to do the conversion using the exhaust bypass cover method. All right, so this is a 5.5 horsepower power head. It doesn't have any bypass covers on it. When you get up to the 10 horsepowers and the 18s, I'll show you a picture of it right now. They have bypass covers right here. All right, so what I normally do is take the upper bypass cover off, and there it is, and I'm gonna tap and thread this opening right here, right, which will give us a pulse coming out of this upper cylinder. All right, so in order to do that, I'm gonna use a barb hose fitting. Here's the barb hose fitting that I'm going to use, and it is an Edelman 831240, 1/8 inch by 1/4 inch. You can find them on eBay for $8. We're going to barb this hole, thread this barb into it, and then be able to do our hose wiring, right? So I'm going to use a 7/16 drill to drill this out. Okay, then I'm going to come with a tap, an 8x27 NTP tap, and thread it. All right, thread the tap in there. Then I'm going to be able to take my barb hose fitting and thread it through there and mount it right here. Once I have that mounted on my power head, I'll do the same procedure with the Kohler fuel pump. All right, with the pulse and the fuel and the carb. Mount that on it, mount that right here somewhere, and do all your hoses, and everything's good. Now I'm gonna show you a finished product on an 18 that we did. That'll show you how it came out. Okay, so here's the conversion on an 18 horsepower. As you can see, we removed the exhaust bypass cover, tapped it, put in our fuel barb there, mounted our fuel pump with a tie wrap here, and we got our pulse running in, we got our fuel coming in from the fuel line, and we got our fuel going out to the carburetor. That's how you do the upgrade with a exhaust bypass cover modification. All right, so in summary, let's review. We talked about how a dual line fuel system works. We talked about how a single line fuel system works and what the difference is. And then we talked about how to do the upgrade to a fuel system using the carburetor manifold modification. And then we talked about how to do the fuel pump upgrade using the exhaust bypass cover modification. So hopefully these 4 parts of the video gave you all the information you need to upgrade your fuel system from dual line to single line. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. I know I did. See y'all next video.
I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Here at T Mike's Vintage Outboards, we're doing it one motor at a time. Please click on subscribe. I guarantee to provide weekly videos. Au revoir mes amis, and laissez les bon temps rouler.